that the conservatives have ideas and they're fighting with the liberals who have different ideas and they're all fighting about the best ideas. Well, that's nonsense. As we saw with, as Congresswoman Eshoo mentioned, as we saw with the healthcare debacle, when the Republicans finally had a chance to govern, they had no ideas. The only idea they had is the same idea they have in every case, which is cut taxes on rich people and eliminate programs that the middle class and everybody else depends on. That's their answer to everything. They have no ideas. But that's actually great news, if you think about it, and that's why we're here today. It's great news because they don't have any ideas, so it's all about money. It's all about money. So if we can cut off their money, if you take away the money from Paul Ryan, he's just a naked clown. So that's why we're here. In a few moments we're going to march and we're going to deliver a letter to Apple President Tim Cook. And I'd like to read you the letter that we're going to deliver. Dear Mr. Cook, I am writing to ask you to join with other members of the Silicon Valley community by publicly declaring you will not make any more financial contributions or raise additional funds for political committees that support GOP House Speaker Paul Ryan or GOP members of Congress, at least until President Trump is required to release his federal income tax returns. Without that information, the public has no way to know the president has no way to know, the public has no way to know whether President Trump's official decisions benefit his private interests. In normal times, financial contributions from business leaders to political figures are to be expected. On many occasions, business leaders give generously to members of both political parties, including to ensure that their views are heard no matter who wins. We all understand how business gets done in Washington, D.C. These realities have been cited to explain the significant financial support that you, Mr. Cook, and other Silicon Valley business leaders have been channeling to Mr. Ryan and his GOP colleagues. We urge you to join us in recognizing that these are not normal times. President Trump is preparing to spend billions in public funds to build a wall along the border with U.S. and Mexico. He's undermining hard-won civil rights gains it took decades to secure. He has withdrawn our nation's commitment to collaborate with other nations to address the effects of human-caused climate change. And just a few days ago, President Trump promised to sabotage Obamacare because he thinks making millions suffer needlessly will increase his bargaining leverage with Democrats. During last year's campaign, many said Mr. Trump was unfit to assume the office of the presidency. His conduct since taking office makes those predictions sadly correct. As a result, our great nation is now at risk. It's never too early to do the right thing, but it is often too late. That is a painful lesson of history. For better or worse, Mr. Cook, Silicon Valley high-tech CEOs have a disproportionate weight in our nation's political affairs. I ask you, as your Bay Area neighbor and customer, to join with others in pledging a complete donor strike to GOP-related causes, at least until President Trump's tax returns are made public. Mr. Cook, you can put your name on the side of justice and American values at http://unseatnationbuilder.com/Apple. That's the letter we're going to carry. I gather the Raging Grannies are going to deliver it for us today. Let me conclude by talking about something we've seen a lot. There have been a lot of conversations, and we've seen them in the media, about when it becomes too late to stand up to totalitarianism. And what we've learned from those lessons is that it's sometimes too late, but it's never too early, as I mentioned before. So we are gathered here today because we believe that there is still time, and that that we are playing an essential role in stopping President Trump and his accomplices. The other thing I want to finally tell you about what I learned in Washington is that the change that we need to see happen, the withdrawal of funding to the GOP machine that is threatening the lives of so many of us and our friends and neighbors, that change won't happen in Washington, D.C. That change can only happen here in Palo Alto, in a place where the money begins and is sent to Washington. And that means that the power to change what happens in Washington does not rest in Washington. It rests in our hands. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, today we're going to march to Apple, and we're going to ask them to stop funding the GOP. And what I'd like to know is, if Apple and Mr. Cook continue to fund the GOP, how many of you are willing to come back here and do this again? Godspeed to us all, and thank you for being here.